Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Israel Issue. And today we're thinking about what replacement theology needs to be replaced by. Now, it's often said that what the church most needs is more unity. And that is right, providing we understand what that unity needs to be centered on. Because on the night before Yeshua died, he prayed that all believers may be one Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. Yeshua wasn't praying for unity just for the sake of unity, let alone that all those who believe that the church has replaced Israel in God's purposes should become more united in their view. Instead, he was praying for a unity that would reflect his relationship with the Father and the Father's relationship with him, which was inseparable, in which there was no replacing one by the other. And that shows us how even the vocabulary of replacement theology is flawed from the start. Instead, it points us to the very opposite of what replacement theology would lead us to, which is that blessing and uniting of Jew and Gentile together as they minister fullness to each other. And we see different pictures of this in the Bible, particularly in Romans chapter 11, in that picture of the natural olive tree into which branches from wild olive trees are grafted, and those branches then draw up the nourishing sap from the roots of the natural olive tree, bringing it back to life and enabling fruit to grow on those branches from the wild olive trees that would never have been possible otherwise. We also see it in the picture of the one new man that Ephesians 2 speaks of, in which that dividing wall between Jew and Gentile is just completely broken down. And we can also see it in the picture of the one people of God in two parts. One part being the people of Israel, whom God loves with an everlasting love, whether or not they reciprocate it. And the other part being the church, for whom Yeshua laid down his life, that it may become radiant, without blemish. And that picture also helps us to understand the way in which God loves both parts of his people equally and yet differently. Just as those of us who are parents can also love our children equally, though very differently. And this sets the context for that end-time purpose for the Gentiles, which Paul describes as the fullness of the Gentiles. It comes in Romans 11 verses 25 and 26, which say that the blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in. And so all Israel will be saved. Now, most translations don't use that word fullness, but only speak of the full number of the Gentiles needing to come in before the saving of all Israel. But that is a mistranslation. It's a mistranslation of the Greek word pleroma, which really means fullness in all its fullness. And we see it used particularly by Paul in Colossians 2 verse 9 to speak about how in the Messiah all the fullness or the pleroma of the deity lives in bodily form. Now, had Paul only wanted to speak about the full number of the Gentiles needing to come in, he'd have just used the Greek word arithmao, which he'd used previously, to speak about the number of the Israelites becoming like the sand on the seashore. But he deliberately used this word pleroma to speak of something absolutely huge that was going to happen amongst the Gentiles in that final run-in to the saving of all Israel. Now, for the translators who in their theology only understand replacement of the Jewish people, that really is a bridge too far. They haven't got the bottle to speak into what it's really all about, and so they prefer to go the route of mistranslation rather than to speak about the reality of what it points to. But if we allow that prayer that Yeshua prayed on the night before he died to inform those pictures of the olive tree and the one new man and the one people of God in two parts, we can then see how God will use the Gentiles amidst whatever else he has to use to bring the people of Israel to the saving knowledge of him. But he will use the Gentiles to, in the words of Romans 11, verse 11, make Israel envious. And of course, this can only happen as the Gentiles draw the nourishing sap from the roots of the olive tree to bring forth that fruit, which is so unmistakable to the Jewish people that they end up saying, hey, you've got what is ours, and we want it back. And when that happens, then the Gentiles will be reflecting back that light which the first Jewish believers shone out to the Gentiles. Isn't that the most exciting prospect for the end times? This reciprocal ministry of Gentiles to the Jews that reflects what the Jews first gave to the Gentiles. Now, we're living in the most extraordinary of times, drawing closer by the day to the end time saving of all Israel. And that therefore means that this end time fullness of the Gentiles, this something which is huge beyond understanding, which need not happen amongst all the Gentiles, but certainly will happen amongst enough for Israel to see it. That's getting nearer by the day. Doesn't that make you excited to be alive in these times? Doesn't it make you want more of that nourishing sap that brings it about, that gets drawn up from the roots in which the Christian faith is based? If you'd like to think more about this, please do go to our website, www.letthelionroar.com. Go to the Israel issue, and there you'll find some study questions to go with this episode. You'll also find previous episodes that you may now want to refer back to. If you're watching for the first time, do hit that subscribe button so that you get the Israel issue direct in the future. Do tell everyone you can about this most vital and exciting message of the fullness of the Gentiles. And I look forward to being back with you in the near future with another episode of the Israel Issue.